Welcome, everybody, to our first live stream of 2024. This is our monthly Chocolatey Product Spotlight live stream for February 2024. In today's live stream, we're going to look at the recent release of the Chocolatey Community Validation extension. But just a little bit about our streams. We run two live streams every month, the first and third Thursday. This live stream is where we spotlight chocolatey products, recent releases, upcoming releases, and important features. Our other live stream on the third Thursday of each month is a new live stream, which we've called Unpacking Software. And that's going to include news, chat, and opinion on the world of software management. You can be notified of all of our chocolatey content by joining us on our community hub on Discord, subscribing to us on YouTube, or following us on Twitter or X, Mastodon, LinkedIn, Facebook, Blue Sky, and Twitch. We're on all the things, and you can find those links at the bottom of our homepage, chocolatey.org. We want to make sure that the content that we're streaming here today and in all of our live streams is what you want to see. And we have put together a very quick 15-second survey form, which we would really appreciate you completing at the end of the stream today. We'll pop the link up in the chat and the screen then. I'll probably pop it up during the stream as well, just to make sure everybody's got the link. And as I said, I'll pop it into chat too. So my name is Paul Broadwith, and I'm the Technical Engineering Manager here at Chocolatey Software. I lead the engineering team that's responsible for the products we'll be talking about today. My co-hosts today are Gary Ewan Park and Kim Nordmo. Gary, do you want to introduce yourself first of all?
Yeah, I can definitely do that. So as Paul said, my name is Gary Ewan Park. I am the Principal Software Engineer at Chocolatey. I've been working for Chocolatey for long time now, and I'm involved across all the products that Paul manages. So yeah, having fun.
Awesome. Gary, your video is actually a bit laggy. I don't know if that's something you can sort while we turn over to Kim and say, Kim, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, of course. My name is Kim Nordmo. I'm a software engineer here at Chocolatey Software. Been working with Chocolatey for soon to be 3 years now, I believe, if I remember correctly, and involved with most of the projects that we have on that Paul also manages. So,
awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Kim. So Gary and Kim are going to be taking us through some of the demos today. So I'm not going to say any more for the time being, and I'm just going to hand over to them, Gary and Kim. Kim, do you want me to bring your screen on stream?
Not yet. So.
No? Okay, just let me know.
I'm not sure what else I can do about my video, so I'm just going to keep going. So
true professional, Gary, true professional.
Absolutely. So yeah, before we dive into kind of the more demo-based bits, which is what Kim's going to do, I thought it made sense to talk about roughly what is the solve. So here at Chocolatey, or more specifically for the Chocolatey Community Repository, we have this concept of package moderation. It's a fairly well-known thing within the Chocolatey community, but essentially what that means is for every package that is submitted or pushed to the Chocolatey Community Repository, it goes through a series of automated checks. We're not going to dive into them in too much detail because we've covered those in previous live streams. So maybe we can dig up a link to where we've done that in the past and add this video. I'll leave that with Paul to do. So the thing that happens when a package is submitted is it'll go to the package validator. So package validator is all about verifying the scripts and the packaging for a package to make sure that they are following some best practices, make sure that they're not doing anything they're not meant to be doing. So package validator will take the contents of the nut keg, break it apart, look at those files, and then apply a set of rules, requirements, guidelines, suggestions, and notes. And if necessary, it will prevent the package from moving any further down the moderation process. If it gets through validator, it goes to verifier or package verifier, and that's where we actually install that package and make sure that it returns with a zero exit code, and essentially that it installed correctly and it didn't run into any issues. Again, if it did run into some issues, it would stop at that part of the package moderation process, and the maintainer would then be required or invited, if you like, to make some changes, figure out what's going on, and resubmit the package for verification again. And the final one in the step is package scanner. So package scanner actually looks at the contents of the package and potentially the actual application installer itself, breaks that apart and sends that off to VirusTotal for virus checking to make sure that there aren't any malicious artifacts within any of the files associated with this package. And then there are additional rules on top of that, that if there are too many virus detections, a package might be held up in the moderation process as well. And then after all of that, there is a human element to the moderation process where a human actually comes along and looks at the contents and says, is this package good to go or not? So why am I telling you all of this? Well, package validator, that first step in the package moderation process, can take a while to go through. And by that, I mean, if you are a new maintainer or you're picking up a new package that you're taking over maintenance for, package validator wants to apply those best practice rules to that package. So the first time you submit that, you might find that there are a number of errors or a number of suggestions. So you make the required changes or modifications to that package and you resubmit it. But then there might be some other things crop up and you might have to resubmit the package again. Now, each time you submit a package to the package moderation services, there is a delay, and that's because of the infrastructure that we have, but there's some caching involved. So what that means is that it might take upwards of 30 minutes before the package validator is run again on your package. And then depending on how many packages are in the queue, your package might not be validated as quickly as you would like. So that feedback loop can take a while, especially if there's a number of things that you need to fix up or changes that are needed to be made. That process can be a little bit off-putting because it takes so long for that to happen. So what we're here to talk about today is a way that you can increase that feedback loop, or rather speed up that feedback loop, so you can make the changes locally before submitting to the package moderation services, and it just makes the overall process that bit easier and quicker. So with that, unless there are any comments or suggestions or comments on what I said, I'm going to hand over to Kim, who can begin talking through what the problem is specifically, how it can be approached, and what this new utility tool that he has come up with, and show that off in practice. So I'm going to hand over to Kim.
I unmuted you, Kim. Apologies.
Okay. Yeah. The project that we recently released a few weeks ago, I think it's 3 weeks ago now. One of the problems that we were seeing was that, as Gary mentioned, you would need to wait for the validator to process some of the rules that it goes through. One of the things we wanted to achieve with this new project was to give a feedback to the user much more quickly than we could before they even had to push to the Chocolatey Community Repository. That involves adding a subset of the package validator rules to an extension for Chocolatey CLI, which you would only need to install once. Then, as soon as you have had it installed, you could then just package whatever or create whatever package you wanted, and then once you call shoppack, it would run through those same validation rules as well. I plan to go through a small demo of that. So if you could share my screen, Paul. So on this VM, I currently do not have this extension installed. So normally when you start creating a package, you would just do a show on new demo, for instance, and it would create the basic files for it. If you try to pack this, there are some rules already in Chocolatey CLI that would prevent you just from packing it immediately. That's very limited in the terms of what we accept on Chocolatey CCR. So, for instance, in this case, you only have a rule that specifies that you need to specify a version. If I just change that to a version, then I would be able to create this package, and I would technically be able to push it to Chocolatey Community Repository. It would fail on Chocolatey Community Repository because of package validator, but you would be able to push it nonetheless. Now, if I then install the extension that we have been working on, oops, that's not what I was supposed to do. That's also not what I will. Sorry about that. There is something wrong with the clipboard. Let me try that again. There. If I install that extension, and just waiting for it to complete, and I try to package this again, I should see additional validation rules come through where, for instance, in this case, the author has a templated value, same with description, summary, tags, and as well as the description being very small. This is only a subset of or a small subset of what the package validator currently implements, but it is what is currently being implemented. Now, if I've, let's say, changed this author to a value in this case, then let's see, if I just change it to my own name and run this one again, it would then no longer be showing up. And you will go through that for each error that is outputted. An error on Chocolatey CLI would be the equivalent on package validator is showing as a requirement. Currently, we don't have the guidelines, suggestions, or notes implemented, but those are planned to be added in the future. We also only have the validation rules for the metadata files, and we hope to be able to include the remaining of the package validator in some kind in the future, but we are not there at the moment to be able to provide that. Once you have everything of this fixed, you could then be able to push it to Chocolatey CLI, to Chocolatey Community Repository. One additional thing that was also added in this case, let's say that you have already created a package like I did before I installed this extension. If I then tries to actually push that one to the Chocolatey Community Repository, it would, whoops, that's not the one. Let's see, if I'm able to type and then tries to push it to chocolatey.org, it will also run through that same validation to prevent you from being able to create a package let's say you had created one using NuGet, but you push it with Chocolatey CLI. This would also prevent that from happening. That's about what I actually had for the demo, I believe. So, unless.
So just to go through a couple of things there then. So what I heard was that Chocolatey CLI has a built-in validation engine. So we saw that in practice with regard to the templated variable for the version number. So Chocolatey knows that, or Chocolatey CLI knows that a new spec needs to have a version number. So there's some built-in rules, there's some basic built-in rules for Chocolatey CLI that says these are the bare minimum of the requirements that need to be provided before a pack can be successful. So what the community validation extension is bringing to the table are additional rules that can have a different severity level. So what the extension at the minute provides are a subset of the requirements that are available when you run it through Package Validator. So what's really happening there is that the extension package, community validation extension package, is tapping into that validation engine that runs inside Chocolatey CLI. So it's not that the extension package is providing new functionality. The functionality already exists in Chocolatey CLI. All that we're doing is providing additional rules that can then be made available to the CLI when running the Choco pack, correct?
Yes, that's correct. We are basically extending existing functionality in Chocolatey CLI with those additional rules, as well as, which I forgot to mention, as well as giving the links to where you can read more about those rules. Those are linked directly to our documentation site.
Okay.
As well.
So does that mean that anyone could create additional rules to add into this rule engine? So let's say I, as a user, can I create my own extension to make this happen? Or would that not work?
Unfortunately, at the moment, you're not able to create your own extensions for this. For an extension to work with Chocolatey CLI, it needs to be signed with our private key for it to be even load into Chocolatey CLI. So unless it's been signed through our build processes, it won't be loaded. At least not as an official product.
Okay.
You may be able to circumvent it, but not in official Chocolatey CLI.
So if I've understood this correctly, then so the GitHub repository for this extension, it lives in the Chocolatey Community Organization on GitHub, correct? So anyone is free to contribute to that project. So if you want to create issues, if you want to create PRs, it is a community-driven project that is, in this case, it's spearheaded by you because it was you that came up with this idea. So it is a community project. However, I, as an end user, couldn't just build that project locally and then load it into my Chocolatey CLI instance. It would need to be an official release in order for it to be executable, assuming that you're not also running an unofficial version of Chocolatey, correct?
Yes, correct. You can't load it into your global installation, but if you build an unofficial version of Chocolatey CLI, you are then able to work it. That should only be done as part of developing an extension or as helping out with this extension and so on. But once it's completed, you obviously would not give an unofficial signed one to a different user and tell them to run it, because it won't work in that case.
Okay. Yep. No, that
Only
makes sense.
during debugging. So.
Okay. So you showed there as well that if you run Choco Push, it would show the same errors in that package because I was pushing it, or when I was pushing the package to Chocolatey Community Repository. But let's say I've got a package that I run internally. I've got my own repository where I don't really have the same requirements in terms of the package. So if I create a package that might have some of these errors, but I want to push it to my own internal repository, am I then prevented from doing that, or what happens there?
No. Well, if you during Choco push, you are not prevented from doing that. We are validating that the URL that you're trying to push to. We only run through the validation rules again when the push URL is Chocolatey Community Repository. So, for instance, if I wanted to, let's say, push it to, probably should actually create a directory. Well, if I just want to push it to C:/testing, then I would be able to do that. Of course, I should actually use the correct arguments. Then it will be able to do that. The same with other internal repositories as well.
I see. Okay, so that package, that demo 010 nutcag, we know that one's got invalid information in it because you packed it before you installed the Chocolatey Community Validation extension. But in the push that you did to the Chocolatey Community Repository, it isn't allowed because the extension has figured out that we're attempting to push to the Chocolatey Community Repository, and as a result, it's applying the same rules and it prevents the push from happening. But in this instance, where I'm pushing to a source that you just created, it is allowed because that source isn't subject to the same rules that this community validation extension is putting in place.
Correct. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So if I was just creating a quick package for testing purposes and I've got my own internal repository, I might not want to apply these rules and push it. So I'm technically allowed to do that. But if I've got the community validation extension installed, the pack will still be subject to that same rules, correct? So if I wanted to turn it off, how would I turn off the rules being applied to a package that I'm creating?
Unfortunately, at the moment, you're not able to turn off the rules for ChocoPack. You would need to completely uninstall the extension. There may be some enhancements we can do in Chocolate CLI in the future to be able to work around this, but at the moment, as long as the extension is installed, it will be applied.
Okay.
There are some plans in other places that may help with this, but those are very limited at the moment.
Okay, so maybe just to follow up on that then. So I've installed, or rather you've installed this extension and these rules are being applied in the Choco Pack. What do I need to do then? Is it just an uninstall of the package to prevent those rules from being applied? Or do I need to tidy anything up after the uninstallation, or is there?
Yeah. So the only thing you have to do is do a Choco uninstall. You don't have to do anything else. Let's see, I should have added this as in the clipboard previously, but I forgot. So if I uninstall this one and then run Choco Pack again on the demo new spec, then I would be allowed to create it again.
Okay, so at that point, it's falling back just to the built-in validation rules that are the basic ones that exist within Chocolatey.
Yes, correct.
Okay. Interesting. Okay, so I saw a question on there. So I think it's kind of related to what I asked. So it was saying, are you prevented from packing though? And if you're prevented to pack, are we able to skip running the validation or ignore failure? So in a roundabout way, we've kind of answered that question. So with the Chocolatey Community Validation extension installed, if you're running Chocopack, there's an expectation that the packages that you are creating are going to the Chocolatey Community Repository, and therefore subject to the same rules that would be applied within package valid. And I guess what we're saying is that if you are an active maintainer and you are targeting the Chocolatey Community Repository, it makes sense for you to install this extension and have those rules applied before you do the actual push. But if you are a package maintainer who is solely targeting an internal repository that aren't subject to the same rules, it's probably not a good idea to install this extension, because it's not, you're not the target audience for this validation extension.
Correct. At the moment, at least at the moment.
Okay.
There are some ideas on improving this for licensed customers, at least, to allow them to change the severity of these rules, maybe even disable them. But at the moment, that work hasn't been done yet.
Okay. I had a thought there, something else I was going to ask, but it's gone out of my head, so it'll come back again soon. So how about you go back and install that extension again, just so we've got it installed again. And Paul's jumped back on the screen.
Yeah, I was just wanting to elaborate, I suppose, a little bit. As Kim mentioned, we've taken this, and it's very early days. We're putting the rules into an extension, but something we had talked about potentially for customers is it makes sense for them. It doesn't make sense for the open source community, is to be able to customize those rules for each source. So let's say a customer has 3 different sources. And in one source, they want to be much stricter in the rules and the types of packages that they've got in there than others. They would be able to toggle the severity of particular rules, and maybe, as Kim suggested, disable them as well for repository A, whereas repository B, they would potentially be all enabled because they've got much stricter controls over that. So, and an organization generally won't be pushing to the Chocolatey Community Repository, they'll be pushing their own repository. So some of that functionality there might not make sense as well. So there's a lot of customization that you would expect an organization will want to do, as opposed to just an open source customer would, it's not customer, sorry, open source community member would be doing. So that's why we're looking at the customization of some of those rules.
So I remember part of what I was going to ask. So we spoke about this actually the other day, Kim, but the rough plan for this Chocolatey Community Validation extension is to have a number of subsequent releases, correct? So this first release had the requirements, and then the plan was to have another release that included the guidelines, I think you said, and then another release that was the suggestions, and then another subsequent release that was the notes. Is that correct?
Yes, correct. Just in a different order. The first release was the error requirements, as you mentioned, those that we could add at the moment. There was one that was skipped, which is the validation of the URLs. There are some technical limitations to that, as well as some internal discussions that we're having on the future of it that I'm not going to go into at the moment. The next release, which is 0.2.0, the plan is to add the note validation rules in that case, which also includes a different URL validation, which will probably also be taken out, but the remaining of them is intended. Then the next after that is guidelines, and the final planned one is the suggestions. And plan is, once we have all of these rules that we can implement, then we will probably be moving to a 1.0 release.
Gotcha.
Because that's where I would consider it that we have the baseline of what we need at that point.
So in terms of, I know we don't have them yet, but in terms of the output from Chocopack for anything other than a requirement, I'm expecting just a warning being output and for the pack to actually succeed?
Yes, pretty much. A guideline would be outputted as a warning.
Okay.
Suggestion would be outputted as information or just a normal message, which will also allow it to continue. A note will look like a normal message, but just have, if I remember correctly, have a prefix of note for it. So it would.
Okay.
All of these would have a different prefix, but only the requirements will actually stop the pack or the push from happening.
Okay. So
which is similar to how. Which is similar to how package validator function on the Chocolatey Community Repository.
Okay. So just to make sure I've got this in my head then. So I've got, let's imagine I'm creating a package and it has one note, or rather, if I took this package and I pushed it to the Chocolatey Community Repository, it would have one note, one suggestion, one guideline, and one requirement. To running that package through ChocoPack, once everything's set up, once I've got once I've got this new version installed, it would result in an error, and there would be no nutcase generated because it had one requirement associated with it. Correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And if I get rid of that requirement, if I fix that, I've still got a suggestion and a guideline, it would generate the nutcase, and I would be allowed to push it to the Chocolatey Community Repository.
With the current implementation, yes, you would be able to do that.
Perfect. Okay. So again, just to reiterate, why is all of this needed? Why have you went to the extreme of creating this validation extension? And it comes down to that feedback loop that I mentioned before. So in this current state here, we have got 4 or 5 error messages that are currently in this new spec. So if I were to previously, in the current version of Chocolatey, if I were to take that package and push it to the Chocolatey Community Repository, it would be allowed to go through, but it would fail package validator straight away. But there would be that time delay. There would be, here's a 30-minute delay for the caching that happens when you push a package. There would be the time involved before package validator picks that package up. So it might be upwards of 35-40 minutes before that package is validated and I get a response back. Here, I'm running ChocoPack and I'm getting an immediate response to say, this is not right. So I'm in that feedback loop. I can make the changes to the new spec, run pack again. Oh, I've still missed something. I run pack again. So it's just a much quicker feedback loop than going through package validator. Okay. I mean, it's great. I mean, it totally makes sense to me. So the other question that I remember I was going to ask was, are there any requirements around a version of Chocolatey in order for this validation extension to work? And if so, what are they?
Yes, there is a requirement of the minimum version of Chocolatey CLI. The functionality that we're leveraging or extending for this extension was implemented in Chocolatey CLI 2.0.0. So to be able to use this extension, you need to have that version or a later version installed for it to be able to work. 1.4 wouldn't, if I remember correctly, 1.4 wouldn't even try to load this extension due to how things worked back in that version.
Okay. So if I do the command that you did before, which was just go install this extension package, and I had 1.4 of Chocolatey installed, it would attempt to upgrade Chocolatey as well at the same time.
Correct. We have added Chocolatey CLI 2.0.0 as a minimum dependency in the new spec file. So yes, it would attempt to upgrade that as well.
Okay, that makes sense. And I mean, I was going to get into the technical details of what we did and why we did it, but I'm not sure if that's the right place for this. But essentially, what we've made, and by we, and actually in this case I mean you, what you made possible within Chocolatey CLI is the ability to load additional extensions in the form of DLLs, assemblies. So Chocolatey always had the concept of being able to load PowerShell extension packages. So if you wanted to augment functionality within the PowerShell execution of Chocolatey, you were always able to do that because that was something that was built in out of the box when Chocolatey was first created. But what we're talking about, the extensions that we're talking about here are actually .NET Assembly extensions where we're loading additional functionality into the running Choco.exe process. And that was that ability to do that was something that we added, like I say, I mean the global you added into the 2.0.0 version of Chocolatey CLI to allow the loading of those additional assemblies. But as you mentioned, at the minute, that's limited to only assemblies that are built with the same code signing certificate that is used for Chocolatey CLI itself. So there is a limitation there, unless, as we've said, you're using an unofficial version of Chocolatey, which obviously isn't supported. But no, I like it. So this was the initial release to get us to this point. I think we've had some feedback. We've had some issues being created off the back of that already, and discussions about severity of certain rules and how they map to package validator. So at the minute, we've essentially got two rule engines running. We've got the rule engine that runs on package validator, and we've got the rule engine that's now being augmented via this extension into ChocoPack itself. So is that something that we're going to aim? Are we planning on keeping those two as two separate rule engines, or are ultimately we're going to merge those together, or just going to speak a little bit to the what the plan there is?
The future plan for that haven't been completely nailed down, but at the moment it is thought of that those two products will be completely separate. But it could always change. But yeah, this extension is intended for now to be completely standalone and not be integrated into Chocolatey CLI. That doesn't mean that maybe some of the rules may be integrated at some point, but that is not something that is on the planning roadmap that I am aware of.
Okay. And the other thing that I thought about there was once this, so when you push this package to the Chocolatey Community Repository, and after it had gone through package moderation itself, you then added this package into the, now let me get this terminology right, you added this Chocolatey Community Validation extension to the Chocolatey Community Chocolatey Packages repository. So what was that for? Why did you add this package into that process?
Sorry, you cut out for a little bit, so I couldn't get exactly what you were asking.
Let me try again. So after this package went through the package moderation process, you then added it to the Chocolatey Community Chocolatey Packages repository as part of the AU execution that we run. So why is this package being used during the generation of packages on that repository?
There will always be cases where we have missed something. We actually found one thing that we had missed in the past for it. So it is more, that was twofold. One, to give an example on how it can be used in together with AU, and another for us to catch small mistakes that we unfortunately sometimes happen. In this case, it was we actually cached an error that we had used a copyright element but not filled it out. It wasn't flagged by package validator for some reason, but since we made it a little bit more strict in this extension, it was flagged by the extension.
Okay. So let me see if I got this right then. So we've got this automated process that runs, that checks for new application versions and automatically creates Chocolatey and submits that to the Chocolatey Community Repository. So it does that by running ChocoPack and ChocoPush. So by adding this validation extension to that process, we're then catching any errors that we're adding in because of human error or oversight. So because we're just running ChocoPack, if we have this extension installed in that automated process, if there is anything that would fail package validator, it's going to be caught at that point and it's going to cause an error in our automated process, which we can then pick up and address rather than having to wait for package validator to fail and then make the change. That makes sense?
Yeah, that was basically the idea of it, to
So
try to catch what we can.
Yeah. So I mean that to me is fooding the chocolatey validation extension by running it in our own AU instance, so automatic updater instance, to check and verify that we haven't done or introduced any breaking changes or things that would fail the package validator when those packages are pushed. So I love the idea of that, taking advantage of that extension in our own infrastructure or in the Chocolatey community's own infrastructure. So I guess what we're saying is we would encourage any other package maintainers that are also running AU or Choco AU, we would suggest and recommend that they also use this validation extension in their own execution, so make sure that anything that goes through there as well.
Yes, I would recommend maintainers to make use of it. There is one thing maintainers should be aware of when running it through AU. Not the error messages aren't flowing through to the gists that are created by AU at the moment. This is something we are aware of, but that we are looking to fix. It is something that needs to be fixed in AU currently, but it's important to be aware of it.
So the information is, you'd see it in the, so depending on what CI system you're using and you're running AU on, you would see it in the actual CI output, not in the gist that's generated. Is that right? Or you don't see it in the AI output, the CI output either?
Unfortunately, because of how AU works, you don't see it at all currently. You will only see that it failed during the update.
Gotcha.
If I remember correctly, do say it failed during pack or push, but I'm not completely sure about that.
Okay. But it's a step down the road in terms of ensuring that what we're pushing to Chocolatey Community Repository is going through that value prior to pushing it to Chocolatey Community Repository. So it's a net benefit for everyone. Cool.
It is a net benefit from how I look at it. And once we have AU updated to show the messages either through the CR or through the gist, then that would be even more beneficial. So.
Okay. I think I've interrogated Kim enough. I don't think I had any other questions regarding this extension. So did you have anything you wanted to add, Paul?
I was just going to bring up something that was mentioned in the chat. It's like running package validator in your own CI system. The chat actually said package verifier, but I think a lot of people get mixed up with the package moderation services. But yeah, it's about like running package validator in your own CI system or on your own desktop, if you like, when you're pushing packages.
Yeah, I mean that would be my understanding as well. Because at the end of the day, whatever system you're using, whether you're using Azure DevOps or you're using GitHub Actions, you're using AppVeyor, you need to run ChocoPack. But because of the addition of this extension, ChocoPack then brings with it all of these rules and all of these validations. So yes, essentially you are running it as part of your CI at that point, which ticks all the boxes in terms of what I would be looking for. So yeah, makes sense to me.
And it's getting that feedback immediately as well. Being a package maintainer myself, I know when you push your package up and you get it, validator throws back an error for it could be a typo, it could be that a URL that you've had in there for a long time, let's say it's the license URL, it's suddenly moved and you're not aware of it. That's things like that. So getting that feedback back that things are not valid is useful when you're a package maintainer. It'll be useful for me for those kind of things. So, but I mean, even if URLs are not being validated on there at the moment, you're still getting that feedback on things immediately, right there. Okay, I need to fix it. Okay, then you push your package up rather than waiting 1-2 hours. Or if there's a backlog in Validator, for example, there might be lots of packages waiting to go through, and you have to wait longer than that. You're getting that immediate feedback. You've done something wrong. You've goofed, as Stevie said in the chat, and you need to go and fix it. Then you fix it, push it up, validator goes, yeah, that's fantastic, and moves on to the next stage. And it saves you a lot of time. It saves you coming back to a later date when you might not have that time. So for me, it's really, really useful. I'll certainly be installing it. It's Stevie suggested there's a GitHub action for it. Who's going to volunteer to write that? I generally think that the person who suggests things writes them, but that's really just me.
If I remember correctly, you have a GitHub action that can do Choco install, and you have a GitHub action that can do ChocoPack, and that's what you need.
So job done. So yeah, Stevie doesn't need volunteer to do that. Job is already done. Awesome. There's no more questions that's come up in the chat. Stevie just said he touched his nose, and then immediately I touched mine. It's one of those, somebody laughs or yawns, you laugh or yawn. So apologies, I didn't need to touch my nose. It was just that thing. I don't see any more questions in the chat. I think this is awesome. I think even though we've only got a small subset of the rules in there at the moment, it's not that. It's the potential it's got for package maintainers, for customers, for community users. And also, if you want to really think about it like this, for end users as well. So while as a package maintainer, it helps me make sure that I get that immediate feedback when I'm submitting a package. It also helps end users, because if I get that immediate feedback, I fix it right there and then push it up and it works. So people are actually getting, or will end up getting, packages that little bit quicker, because I then don't have to, as a maintainer again, I don't wait to the next day and I don't have time today. That's failed, or I might not have time for a week. That's how it tends to work for me. I'm assuming other people are the same. So those packages are getting through the queue that bit quicker. Validator doesn't have to kick it back and run twice, 3 times, 4 times. Yeah. It's running once because the problem is getting fixed, right there and then. So it's got all sorts of benefits if you think a little bit further out the box for, as I said, package maintainers as well as users. So yeah, I think for me the potential is awesome, and we just come along and we'll extend that rule set. And as you said, Kim, we're talking about adding in custom rules for particular repositories, etc. So it's one of those things that could grow arms and legs, but it's really useful. And as Stevie says, it's like running package validator on your own CI. It's awesome. So well done on that, Kim. And
another benefit I personally see, at least since we're doing this extension as an open source project, anyone in the community can look at the code, can make suggestion on how to improve something, or they can make suggestion on how to add a new rule. They could even add a new rule themselves as well. Obviously, someone would need to approve it first, but it's something that can quicker be iterated on than us waiting for us to having to implement something in package validator first. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Package validator is one of those systems as well that all packages must go through. So we need to make sure the rules are robust. They're a general set of rules because they do apply to everything. Whereas this, it doesn't have to apply to them because you don't need to install it. So we could have much more specific rules, much tighter rules, much stricter rules that will apply to people with that extension, that people will want those things caught. So yeah, I see it having a different use there that would be beneficial to a lot of package maintainers. Okay, awesome. All right, anything that we didn't discuss today that you wish we did, Kim and Gary?
Nothing I can think of.
I don't think so. I mean, I did almost jump into the technical details of what's going on in terms of being able to and all that sort of stuff, but I don't think that was the place for discussion of that. And I think we've spoken about that in other streams that we've done as well. But I mean, if people were interested in the technicalities of what it's doing, how it's doing it, why it's doing it, I mean, something we could happily jump into in a list. Questions like that as per your survey, it's what do you want us to talk about? Is it the little technical details of how we do things? Is it the details of what Chocolate is actually doing when it's doing stuff? Yeah, love to hear some feedback on what it's doing and or what you want to hear about.
Yeah, as Gary said, the feedback is there for you to tell us what you want to see, and I'll talk a little bit about that just as we're kind of closing. So, yeah, we're going to finish the stream. I think we're a few minutes early today, which is absolutely fine. Yeah. So yeah, thanks to Gary and Kim for taking us through the Chocolatey Community Validation Extension today. I really appreciated it, and even though I know a lot of the stuff that is kind of went on in there, it was good to kind of go through it in a little bit more depth. But there's also a blog post for the Chocolatey Community Validation Extension. I did share it earlier on, but let me share it again. I'm just going to take that off screen and add that one in. And somebody could possibly share it in chat as well. The repository, Kim, if you can put the repository in chat, that would be useful.
Yeah, let me grab that.
And
I
we'll make
recommend
sure
people to check out that blog post as well. It goes into a little bit more depth than what we actually went into here regarding the reasons why.
I'll make sure that the repository and the blog post link is in the video, the YouTube video, which we keep on our YouTube channel after the event. So that'll go into the description. So if you watch this on YouTube, look down and you should see those links, those clickable links in the description as well. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about the survey in just a second. But yeah, just again, thank you to Gary and Kim for taking us through that. We've talked about the future of it and how it can be extended. I think there's a huge amount of potential there. So please, again, Kim has put the repository into the chat. Raise an issue, raise a discussion, have a conversation about what you would like to see, where you think this is going, and what it could be used for. That would be awesome, and it helps us understand what you're looking for, and helps us understand the kind of involvement that you want as well with an open source project such as this. And I also mentioned at the start, I mentioned it a couple of times going through here, about our survey, and it's on screen just now. Really important. We really appreciate any feedback that you can give us. Previous to this, we've kind of asked for feedback, and we've had some, we've not had a lot, but we haven't had a formal way to capture it. It was just like, hey, talk to us on Discord. But now we want to capture that feedback from everybody. So we really want to make sure that the content that we're streaming is basically what you guys want to see, and capture anything you'd like to see for future streams. So that link's on screen. As I said, hopefully someone can pop it into chat as well, so you can click on it. Please just fill it out. It will take you literally 10 seconds. There's 3 questions in there, and 2 of them are optional. How much easier could we make it? And so you can give us additional information if you want, or you can just rate this stream with a click of a button. Simple as that. We don't capture any information. We're not going to capture your email address unless you want to give us it. We're not going to capture even your name again unless you want to give us it. We just want to know what you liked and what you didn't like, and just rate the stream. And as I said, we really do appreciate it. And on that as well, you can be notified of all of our Chocolatey content by joining our community hub on Discord, subscribing to us on YouTube, or following us on Twitter or X, Mastodon, LinkedIn, Facebook, Blue Sky, and Twitch. We're on all of the social medias. And you can find all of the links for that at our homepage, chocolatey.org. Just scroll all the way down to the bottom and you'll find all of the icons in the bottom right-hand corner. And you can click those to go to our various different social media presences. Our next live stream is our brand new live stream. So previous to this, we had a community coffee break live stream. That was on the third Thursday of each month. We've changed it up a little bit. We have a brand new live stream starting on the 15th of February at 5 p.m. UTC, and we're calling it Unpacking Software. Join us basically for news, chat, and opinion on all things about software management, software deployments, package management, all that kind of thing. So we're going to just chat about things. It's going to be a slightly shorter live stream. We're going to make it around about 30 minutes. So hopefully that's more of a bite-size stream that you might prefer. So again, we're trying to change things up, see how things work, see what people like, see what they don't like. We're just trying new things. So again, please let us know what you think of that on the day as well. Join us 15th of February at 5 p.m. UTC. And if you go to chocolatey.org/events, you'll be able to add that directly to your calendar as well. So we hope to see you there. Thank you for your time today. As always, we really appreciate it. And take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.